Hare Krishna. So, welcome. Today we will again reading the Bhagavad Gita. We started actually now, still chapter 1, will be text number 2. We'll start with Jaya Radama. Jaya Radama. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kapijana Vallabha Girivara Dari Kapijana Vallabha Girivara Dari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjari Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjari Hari Gabijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Rajanjananandana Yasodanandana Rajanjananandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Homagyanatimirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamahyam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitansa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarvyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokankarati Vachalam Pangum Gangayati Girim Yatri Padamaham Vande Sri Gurunatarinam Yatri Padamaham Vande Sri Gurunatarinam. Okay, yes, spin it. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, text number 2. Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Yudang Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Yudang Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Sanjaya Uvacha Dristatu Pandavanikam Yudam Duryodhanastata Acharyamupasangamya Raja Vachanamabravu. Sanjaya Vacha. Sanjaya said, Drištva after seeing, two by Pandava Anikam, the soldiers of the Pandavas, Yudham arranged in a military phalanx. Duryodhanaha, King Duryodhana. Tada, at that time, Acharyam, the teacher. Upasangamya, approaching. Raja, the king. Vachanam, words. Abhravit spoke. Translation. And purport by his divine grace, Abhicharanarayana Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over army arranged in military formations by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage. Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situations on the battlefield. Sanjay wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king and thus assure him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of politics. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief, Dronacharya, to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as king, he still had to go to commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangements of the Pandavas. O king, after looking over army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Yeah. So, as we have already discussed earlier, that this Tarasta is actually blind from very birth. Yeah. But not only that, but actually he also not having such spiritual vision. This was also materially. He has a birth of spiritual vision. And also he knew that his son, Duryodhana, is blind in the matter of religion. So actually he's sure that actually Duryodhana will not make any compromise with the Pandava. Yeah. Where in return, actually, they are in opposite. They are pious in spirit. But his intention asking here is that actually he is doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, or maybe because it is the place of pilgrimage, so maybe he, his son, will make a compromise. Yeah. So he is actually having this doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage because it might affecting his son, something like that. And Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. And Sanjaya wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king and thus assure him that his son were not going to make any sort of compromise under influence of the holy place. So Sanjaya is telling that, that he informed he informed to the king, Dhritarashtra, that Duryodhana actually going to his commander, which is actually Dronacharya at the time. Although he is mentioned as a king, but still had to do the commander in chief because the situation is very serious. So it's also mentioned here as Duryodhana is very diplomatic person. It's the best. Is very good diplomat. So we can continue the text number 3. Pasyetam pandu putranam acharya mahatim samam yudam drupada putrena tavashishyena dimata. Pashya, behold, etam this Pandu putranam of the sons of Pandu, Acharya or teacher, Pohatir, great, Chamum, military force, Yudham, arranged, Drupada putrena, by the sons of Drupada. Tawa, your Sishyena, disciple, Dhimata, very intelligent. Translation. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the sons of Drupada. Report. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defect of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander-in-chief. So it's mentioned here that Duryodhana is a great diplomat, and he wanted to use the situation to point out the defect of Dronacharya. According to him, it's a defect, but it's actually not a defect, uh, because Dronacharya is a commander-in-chief from the very first day, and he was bringing this point that actually once time he's actually having quarrel with Dronacharya, have quarrel with uh, Dronacharya. Dronacharya have quarrel with Drupada, King Drupada. So we can read to continue. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Drupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the sons of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the sides of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for the military phalanx after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this, he wanted to find out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight will lead to defeat. So some point that in the Srila Prabhupada explanation here, that actually it's just better if you have this time to see the the movie, what is happening between Dronacharya and Drupada. Yeah, Drupada was having quarreling with Dronacharya. One time, actually, they were studying in the same place, in the Gurukul, and King Drupada was actually still prince, but he's still small boy over that time, and then they studied together. And one time, uh, Drupada, King Drupada mentioned that, "Oh, I will share my kingdom to you. I give the half kingdom to you," something like that. It's just as talking between when people are still boys, maybe make something like, oh, I will sing this and that. And then after both of them uh, finish the education in the Gurukul, and both of them going back to their own place. And then after grow up, Drupada became king in the Panchala kingdom. And Dronacharya is a Brahmana. One time he has difficulties, and he is going to come. He went, actually he planned to come to King Drupada for some help because he's his friend. And he really come over there, and then somehow or other there is an insult that actually uh, King Drupada said that it is no, that talk is only talk between when we are still a boy. And actually, yeah, King, I mean, the Dronacharya asking, mentioning about this point that, oh, he was talking about that you will be giving the half of your kingdom for example like that. And then uh, King Drupada refused that because he said that this is only talking between when we are still boy, and this doesn't mean anything. So he refused that, and in not very humble way, and then Dronacharya feel very is very insulted, and then the enmity is coming from that time. So then later on, Dronacharya actually going to Hastinapur and become the teacher or military art teacher for the both Pandavas and Kauravas. For the Pandavas and Kauravas. And he actually one time after the Kauravas and Pandavas, they finished this finished the education. So he was asking for the dakshina. Dakshina is what we give to the teacher when we finish our education, traditionally. So then Dronacharya asking both Kaurava and Pandavas to catch King Drupada, to attack King Drupada and bring him and catch him and bring him in front of him. Like that. The Kaurava, they tried and it's not successful. And then the Pandavas is actually his favorite student of Dronacharya, especially Arjuna. He has become the best of archer. So then he asked he asked the Pandavas and Arjunas, including Arjuna over there, to catch King Drupada, and they actually attack King Drupada and can defeat them. Yeah, this is quarreling with, and he wants to show that actually he can teach somebody who can defeat him. So then after Drupada being released, so he feel very insulted, and then he want to take revenge. And how to take revenge is that he performs sacrifice that he will get a son who will later on will kill Dronacharya, and the son is Drishtadyumna. It is coming out from the fire sacrifice, and also along with that also appear Drupadi, who later on become the the wife of Arjuna. And later on, really become the wife of Arjuna. Draupadi become wife of Arjuna. So that's before that. Actually, Drishtadyumna, the son of Drupada, is is sent to Dronacharya to learn military art, and he knows actually that Dronacharya know that actually uh, King Drupada's son, this person is, or this Tadumna is intended to kill him like that. But as a liberal Brahmana, he also teach this him. Yeah, he doesn't reserve his or he not refuse to teach him because he is qualified person. Then in this battlefield, King Drupada become in the Pandava side, and Dronacharya is in the Kaurava side. So here Duryodhana is explained that actually he is pointing out to Dronacharya that as if he is saying that don't make mistake again. You have teach this your the son of your is this the son of your enemy. You have teach this this the son of your enemy who is intended to kill you, for example. So Duryodhana is making this point to him. That's why he is very intelligent to use this point to bring it up to his own teacher actually. Then also because Pandava is the favorite students of Dronacharya, then Duryodhana also making this point so that he will not be lenient when they are when he is facing with him on the battlefield. And we can also here read from Surrender unto me, text number 2. You can see is there. Yes, there is nothing over here. Yeah. And text number 3. So if you have any question, you can write it down on your note in your book or in wherever. So then you can collect the question that we can discuss. That's it. But if you feel you need to ask directly or at the same time when the question appear in your mind, you can as well. Text number 3. Pasyaitam Pandu Putra Nang Acharya Mahatim Samam Yudang Durpada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Purport. Oh, yeah, I think actually we read this before. Yeah, we read this. Actually, Duryodhana was a great politician. He could have mentioned Drishtadyumna's name directly, but instead he purposely called him the son of Drupada. There is a meaning here. Every name here has meaning. When we address somebody according to his certain things, when somebody having different names or different title, for example, we have certain you know certain purpose. For example, if we other Krishna with his name, for example, Gopal, he is as the cowherd, for example. Or if we see if we address Lord Krishna, for example, as a uh, Devaki Nandana, so he's the son of Devaki, something like that. So here, at this, in the same way, actually, Duryodhana addressing Drishtadyumna, not in direct name of Drishtadyumna, but the son of Drupada. Why? Because he want to bring the point that he is the son of the enemy of Dronacharya. It's just like that. Like Burijan Prabhu has written here. He could have mentioned Drishtadyumna's name directly, but instead he purposely called him the son of Drupada. Drupada and Drona were enemies, and therefore, to incite Drona's anger, Duryodhana reminded Drona that his enemy's son, Drishtadyumna, was arranging the armies. Because Drona was naturally inclined to the Pandavas, especially to Arjuna, his greatest student, Duryodhana needed to use whatever ploys he could to ensure that Drona would fight to the best of his ability. Drupada and Drona had attended the same Gurukula, even though Drona was the son of a poor Brahmana and Drupada was a prince. Despite the differences in their background, the two became intimate friends. In a moment of affection, Drupada had once told his friend that when he inherited the kingdom, he would give half to him. Drona took his friend's words to heart. Long after they had graduated and Drona had entered Grihastha life, he found his son crying for milk. Drona was so poor that he could not afford to buy milk for his child. Then he remembered Drupada's promise and thought, let me go to my dear friend Drupada and beg a cow from him. Oh yeah, sorry. I just wanted to correct it that I was mentioned that he the get out of the kingdom. But it's actually he just uh, want to beg a cow from him. When Drupada arrived at Drupada's place, he was not properly received. Drupada said, I'm your friend. I'm your friend. Friendship can be recognized only among equals. Get out of here immediately. It was the insult also. So Drona vowed revenge. Later, he trained both the Kuru and Pandavas princes in the military art and then asked for his Guru Dakshina. Capture Drupada and bring him before me. The Kauravas offered to try first, but Drupada easily defeated them and sent them back to Drona in embarrassment. Dronacharya was mortified. Arjuna then came forward. The other Pandavas lined up behind him as he attacked Panchala, Drupada's kingdom. Arjuna captured and bound Drupada in ropes after a fierce battle and carried him to Dronacharya's feet. Dronacharya then took half of Drupada's kingdom and thus made Drupada his enemy. Drupada then performed a sacrifice to obtain a son who would kill Drona. That son was Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna later approached Dronacharya to study the military science, and although Dronacharya knew that Drishtadyumna was specifically empowered to kill him, he did not hesitate to train him. Such is the liberty of a Brahmin. The Brahmana's liberal heart is compared to the sun, which does not withhold its light from the courtyard of anyone, even a thief. Similarly, Dronacharya does not hesitate to impart all his military secrets to Drishtadyumna. Okay, still have a few minutes, I think. I will not keep it long. text number 4. You can just see. अत्र सुरमहेश्वच विमर्जुनस्य मयुधि युधानविरतस्य द्रुपदस्य महारथः. Atra here, Suraha heroes. Maha isu asaha, mighty bowmen. Bhima Arjuna to Bhima and Arjuna. Samaha equal. Yudhi in the fight. Yuyudhanaha, Yuyudhana. Virataha, Virata. Cha also. Drupadaha, Drupada. Cha also. Maharataha, great fighter. Translation. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yuyudhana and Virata and Drupada. Purport. Even though Dhristadyumna was not very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strengths of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. And then here, Burujana Prabhu is writing here, quite long explanation. We will read that. And we will finish by by ending of this explanation, and then we will continue for the next and the next meeting. Again, Drupada was mentioned to incite Drona's anger. Duryodhana also mentioned Bhima and Arjuna. Arjuna was powerful fool. Not only had he studied under Drona, but he had gone to the heavenly planets, later fought with Lord Shiva, and have been given many celestial weapons. Duryodhana, however, was especially afraid of Bhima's fiery temperament and expertise in fighting. Therefore, he mentions his name first. Hmm. Very nice noted. Bhima was furious with Dhritarashtra's sons. Before the battle, he took 3 vows. First, he vowed to kill each Dhritarashtra's 100 sons. Hmm. During the battle of Arjuna and other Pandavas had opportunities to kill some of Dhritarashtra's sons, but they refrained from doing so to allow Bhima to fulfill his vow. During the battle, Bhima's anger was inflamed. He screamed, jumped up and down, and drank the blood of each son of Dhritarashtra he killed. Even the warriors on the Pandava side feared his rage. Hmm. Second, he vowed to break Duryodhana's tithe. When Draupadi was being insulted, Duryodhana has uncovered his tithe and motioned to Draupadi, saying, "Come and sit on my lap. You are fit for my enjoyment." Bhima burned with anger and hatred. For 13 years he had been burning as he waited to destroy the Kauravas. Third, Bhima vowed to tear upon Dusasana's chest, pry out his heart, and drink his blood. Dusasana had touched and opened Draupadi's tight and sanctified hair. For that, Bhima also vowed to rip off his arm. Draupadi has promised to keep her hair untied until she had washed it with Dusasana's blood. Bhima later carried that blood upon his hand to Draupadi. Duryodhana named all these fighters to pursue Dronacharyas to free himself from whatever sentiment he felt for the Pandavas to kill them in battle. He then continued to describe the Pandavas' strength. Okay. Okay. So we'll stop here and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.